everyone, this is Miss Yen. Today we're going to talk about how to prepare HSC exams. Before I start, I would like to say it's not too late. You just completed 50% of your total assessments. There are two assessments. First one is a school-based assessments, that's 50%. And the external assessment, which is a HSC exams, that's another 50%. So altogether 100%. So really, you're just halfway there. So how do I prepare for my HSC exams? I'm going to give you 2 tips today. First one is your study plan. Now, you really need to have a look at your NASA exam timetable. So I'm sure you already know when you have your exams. So write it down on your calendar, hard copies, or your phone, or Excel spreadsheets. And then write it down your subjects from weakest to the strongest, rank them. So for example, say my weakest subject is maths, say maths standard 2. And then second one is English, third one is modern history, and so on. And then use that your tools like a calendar, apps, spreadsheets, whatever you have, put them into an order because you really want to start from your weakest subject. I said Maths Standard 2 is my weakest, so I'm going to put that on the top, and then I will go from backwards. So from the date that I have the exam, so for example, Standard 2 is on Wednesday, 22nd of October. So I'll count back and say if I started studying 22nd of September. So you have roughly about 30 days to study before the exam. You will see that the sample that I've done, I'm going to put that in there, but I put that in as an Excel spreadsheet. For example, I want to complete 5 HSC past papers twice in that 30 days, from 2020 paper to 2024. I know the Standard 2 has 2019 as well. So if you want to include that, you probably need to calculate a little bit more. But say I want to do 5 papers. So you roughly have to do each paper in 3 days. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip. 1 mark in HSC is roughly about 1.5 minutes. Maths Standard and also Advanced and Extension 2 are out of 100 marks. And they are a little different times. So for example, Standard 2 is 2.5 hours. Advanced and Extension 2, they are about 3 hours. And Extension 1 is 2 hours. But overall, it's 1.5 minutes per mark. So roughly 3 days, 100 marks. You can say 33 or 34 marks each day, and then you will complete the 1 whole paper. 33, 34 marks, that's roughly about 50 minutes. And when you start at first time, 50 minutes is that's like when you're in the exam situation. And if you want to study, it'll take longer because you have to look it up stuff, you need to think about it. If you're stuck with something and you're not going to continue with the exam condition. So I will give about 2 or 3 times longer than what it takes. So give it roughly about 2.5 hours per day for over 3 days to complete the 1 whole paper. That way, you will have a time to revise at the same time doing the paper. Okay, while you're doing this paper, also, you might want to do learning journal. So for example, you might want to make a little notes on it, questions that you had trouble with, and then you make a little note on it why you have trouble with. For example, you had some problem with the converting units, or you couldn't remember the formula. Something like that. You make a little notes under, say, 2020 paper. And that way you're revising at the same time you're learning new things. That's for the first round. But if you want to do the same paper twice for the second time, you really need to do it under the exam condition. Set your alarm to 2.5 hours, and then you actually doing the paper as if it was a real situation. That way you can feel the time. Would it feel like 1 minute or 1.5 minutes or even the whole 2.5 hours? Because time management is one of the things that you can't really wing it, or you can't really do it on the spot. You have to practice so that your body get used to it. So it is important you feel the time, and that's only coming from the practicing. And then don't forget the reading time. So 2.5 hours just for the paper and 10 minutes for the reading time. What am I going to do for that 10 minutes? 10 minutes is quite a lot, right? You checked all the roughly what kind of questions you have, and then some people might want to start in their head, because you can't really write anything that 10 minutes, start doing the questions, like multiple choice questions, for example. After the 10 minutes, I would suggest you have like 1 minute or maybe a couple of minutes, just write down all the formulas that it's not in that reference sheets. Whether it's needed or not doesn't really matter. Whatever you study, you can just write it down. I think those things are very important. After doing that, you record your results so that you can see your progress. When you're doing it like for second time, you'll feel much confident and your marks progressing, improving a lot. Now, second tip is, as I mentioned before, it's the using the reference sheets, the formula handouts wisely. While you're studying, while you're going through the past paper, you might want to write it down, all the formulas that it's not given. So you need to write it down, whatever you're needed in each question. You want to check that, and it's not there, write it down and record it and memorize it. And then when you see it, you can recognize it, because memorizing is very important. A lot of people say understanding is more important than mathematics, but it's a really 50-50. If you can't memorize formulas, you can't do any questions. To have a longer memories, you have to practice. That's the only way. Doing homework regularly, consistently, it is crucial part for the long memory. So do not underestimate your homework. Now, for HSC people, to have a longer memories, you just have to practice and the more you do the past papers, more questions, you will get some pattern out of each question. And then when you see that pattern, you will know what to do. Practicing is the key for the longer memory. I just want to say that math is like a language, right? So a lot of us can speak another language, and we all know if we don't practice the language, you will forget. Say you're in primary school, you learned nouns and verbs, all that. And then high school, you will learn the grammar and punctuation. In 11, 12, you probably have to form a sentences and stories and essays. So it's like that with math. So if you missed some of that, it's very hard and challenging to structure any sentences or stories or essay. That's why math is very difficult for some people. But it's not impossible. You just have to go back and close that gap, and you'll be fine. The only way to keep the language alive is practice. Anyway, good luck, and don't forget, study consistently. And perhaps after this video, design your own daily study plan and stick to it. And make sure that study is realistic. It's not too much. Something that you really need to complete each day, and then you feel good about yourself. And don't give up. You got this. Before I go, I would like to leave you with this. Tenacity is a superpower. It really is. Consistency, keep going, not giving up, is your superpower. From a movie a million miles away. Good luck. See ya.